Now again, our lead story, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's guilty plea and what it does and does not mean for President Trump. I'm joined by NPR's Justice correspondent, Carrie Johnson, and John Carlin. He ran the Justice Department's National Security Division from 2013 to 2016. Before that, he served as Chief of Staff and Senior Counsel to then FBI Director Robert Mueller. And we welcome both of you back to the program. Carrie, I'm going to start with you. So we're told Michael Flynn has pleaded guilty on this one significant charge, but we're not told why he did it. What do we know?
There's so much more that investigators for the special counsel were probing with respect to Michael Flynn and his son, who was his business associate, ranging from allegations that he violated the Federal Foreign Agents Registration Act to some of his business dealings in Turkey and Russia. But he pleaded guilty today to just one false statements charge, and prosecutors say he could wind up spending between 0 and 6 months in prison. Judy, the feeling is that he's delivered something to the special counsel it didn't have before with respect to this investigation, and that's why he's getting a lenient deal.
So the information that was released said that there was a senior official inside the Trump transition who directed him to make these contacts with Russian officials. What is known about who these individuals or that individual was?
Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI in a January 2017 interview, and he lied to the FBI about two things. One, about his contacts with the Russian ambassador during the transition, about U.S. sanctions on Russia, and two, he lied about contacts with the Russian ambassador at the time, Sergei Kislyak, with respect to UN Security Council resolution involving Israeli settlements. The plea documents talk about a senior official in the transition and a very senior official in the transition, but prosecutors have not identified those people. What we know from the White House is that that all eyes right now are on Jared Kushner. People close to Kushner, people close to the White House say Kushner did not direct Flynn to do anything. And with respect to the Israeli settlements, that was a collaborative effort. A lot of people were involved, including Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus.
Jared Kushner, of course, being the president's son-in-law, married to the president's daughter. John Carlin, as Carrie mentioned, it is the case that Michael Flynn was in some legal jeopardy on several things. It wasn't just the lying to the FBI. So what does it say that this is the deal that was worked out?
And before we think about where we're going, we should think about where we are. At this point, we've now had the now president's former campaign manager be charged with serious felonies, including accepting tens of millions of dollars from Russian interests and lying about it while he was involved with the campaign.
That's Paul Manafort.
That's Paul Manafort. We've had George Papadopoulos, an official identified by then-candidate President Trump as one of his key advisors on national security matters, plead guilty about lying about contacts with Russian interests. And now we have the actual sitting national security advisor of the United States at the time lying to the FBI while in that position about secret conversations that he was having with the Russian ambassador. This is historic. If you look ahead, I think Carrie makes a good point in terms of what's in the charges. There's another part of the charge that's not getting as much attention today, but he also pled guilty to making false statements about relationships with the Turkish government linked to the Foreign Agents Registration Act, the FARA. And that shows you that there probably was more culpable conduct that could have been charged. Under our guidelines as prosecutors, we're not supposed to charge someone to a less serious charge unless we think they can provide information, cooperation that's going to lead to someone more culpable, where the interests of the United States will be vindicated. So that indicates he's providing valuable cooperation, and there's more to come.
But we don't have a hint yet at this point what that is, right?
No, we don't. And usually when you do these documents, you know what's going to be public when you're in an active investigation, and there may be parts that they're deliberately keeping now from the public eye so as not to interfere with their ongoing investigation.
What do you know about that piece of it, Carrie?
Well, it should be noted that the White House has been trying to wrap up this investigation. They have scheduled a barrage of interviews for current White House officials with the special counsel team. And we know that last month in November, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and a White House advisor, did meet with special counsel investigators. The question now is what he told special counsel investigators then and how that conflicts, or whether there are any inconsistencies with what they've accepted from Mike Flynn and other witnesses in the investigation.
John Carlin, can you read into this? And again, there was more material that was released today that you don't have time to go into right now, but there is more in, you get a larger sense of what it is that the special counsel Robert Mueller is trying to put together here.
And if you think back, I mean, one of the most significant events that's occurred was the director of the FBI at the time, Director Comey, testifying that he had had a conversation with the President of the United States where the Attorney General and other officials were ordered out of the room. And in that conversation in the Oval Office, that the President had told him essentially to see if he could let this thing with Flynn go. And one of the questions you're asking yourself as a prosecutor is, did he do that with corrupt intent? And then later, when he fires Director Comey, is it because he wants to for corrupt intent, in other words, to protect himself or those around him, to stop this investigation? And it sure looks with today's, this is another piece in that puzzle. We now have, it's no longer an allegation. He's pled guilty to a felony, that same person that the president was trying to protect.
And Carrie, I want to come back to what the White House is saying. I mean, they are saying repeatedly today, well, this is one isolated plea. It only involves Michael Flynn. It doesn't touch anybody else in the White House.
Yeah, the White House lawyer Ty Cobb also said that Mike Flynn was an Obama administration official. What Ty Cobb didn't say was that Mike Flynn was fired by the Obama administration, and Mike Flynn served for 25 days in the Trump White House as its national security advisor.
And was a longtime campaign advisor.
And a longtime campaign advisor to Donald Trump. I think that the White House is downplaying the effects of today's plea, and that it's not a good day for people in the White House and people who worked on the transition team, for sure.
So, John Carlin, for those of us who are following all this, what do we look for next? I know that, it's clear Robert Mueller's been playing his cards close to the vest. None of us knew, that I know of, knew this was coming this morning until it was announced that he was going to the courthouse to plea.
I mean, and that's classic for a by the book. When he was director of the FBI, and I worked with him and throughout his career as a prosecutor, when he talks, it's going to be through formal charging documents. But these charging documents do tell a story. And for those who are involved in this investigation, I think they send a clear message that if you come in and you cooperate, we've seen now 2 individuals get severely reduced charges to what they might otherwise be facing with their cooperation. And for the individuals who didn't come in to cooperate, they're facing a very serious set of charges in indictment.
Just quickly, Carrie, you said not a good day for the White House. How are they taking it overall?
The White House had a Christmas party today for reporters. It was off the record. The mood was subdued. And in fact, the atmosphere right now is one of uncertainty for the very reason you mentioned, Judy. Nobody knows what might happen next.
Carrie Johnson with NPR, John Carlin, thank you both.
Thank you,
Judy.